Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Coach Sean here today. Welcome. I'm excited to get into today's coaching call. It's been a minute. I feel like lately I've been doing a lot of exercise type calls, but yeah, today we're going to dive into this whole topic around how do what happens when you have these last 10 pesky pounds that you're trying to get rid of, and how do you do that? But be sure to like this if you're watching. Comment below that you're here, so I'm not just talking to nobody. I know this will be recorded too, but yeah, I'm live, y'all. So just be sure to comment below, and I'll give you guys a couple moments to hop in the room here. And I've got some notes here as well, so I'm just gonna kind of pull these up and get into the coaching as people are popping into the room. This is a very interesting topic where there's a lot of like there's a surface thing, but then you've got to dive in a little bit deeper and do some discovery questions too around why is it that people want to lose those last 10 pesky pounds, and is it really 10 pounds on the scale that needs to be lost, or what exactly is it? So, all right, y'all. So, like I said, we'll give you guys a couple moments, and then we'll get rocking and rolling here. So, raise your hand if you ever thought, I lost 30 pounds. Why is losing these last 10 so much harder? Raise your hand. Right here. Maybe you even started wondering, is my metabolism broken? Am I too old? Am I doing something wrong? You might be like, should I eat less food? If that's you, then you're not alone, okay? And I'm gonna make sure I'm live on here too. Okay, cool. I've got I'm tied into my Wi-Fi and everything, so making sure I've got everybody on here. I feel like I need a thumbs up or something to make sure you guys can hear me. I see the live on this end, and I see somebody's in here, so. Today's goal isn't to give you another fad diet or magic supplement, okay? It's really to explain what's actually happening inside your body, and when fat loss starts to slow down, but more importantly, what can you do about it? So I'm going to get into some truths here, okay? So one truth is really that fat loss is not linear, okay? One of the biggest mistakes people make is expecting the scale to move every week. Your body's not a machine. Weight naturally fluctuates because of water, sodium, carbs, hormones, stress. That's a big one. Digestion. You can gain 3 pounds overnight. And even in a day, I have clients sometimes, they're like, oh my gosh, the scale's up. And then I find out they drank, 24 ounces of water or 36 ounces of water or whatever. And I'm like, well, you just drank 2 pounds of water. So that's why. So anyways, it's just, you got to be consistent with your weigh-ins, right? So stop judging your success on, yesterday's weight, today's weight. You got to look at the trends over the several weeks. You got to just not only just look at the scale, but the thing that I really tell people to focus on is 3 main pillars, okay, when it comes to am I progressing or not? And one of the pillars is not the scale. The first one's energy, okay? If your energy is going up, then we're progressing. And that's really why you initially want to get into all this, right? I mean, everybody wants more energy. So if your energy is going up, hey, that's great. If you're getting stronger, okay? So if you notice that you're lifting heavier or that exercises or, you're getting more push-ups in, that's another really good indicator, okay? And then are your clothes fitting better? Because the scale might not be moving, but if your body is changing and your clothes are fitting better in the right spots, and then you're doing a pretty darn good job. Just those 3 things alone are showing me that true body composition, recomposition is happening, and that you're in a magical spot right now, and that's a really good place to be in, okay? So kind of keep that in mind. Scale is kind of the worst feedback loops. It is one of them, right? It's a data point, but it's just a data point. It's just feedback. So, okay, the second truth. You ready for this? Your body adapts, okay? This isn't your metabolism breaking. And here, I'm going to tell you guys a little story, okay? And this is kind of a sad story, but it's just a point that we're going to make. So during the Holocaust, they had done some studies to kind of figure out the amount of food that people were taking in. And really, it was just like, how in the world were these people even able to survive? Some of them were doing a couple hundred calories a day, and they yet continued to go on. And what happened was their body started to adapt at a lower point, and a lower point, and a lower point. And their body was doing everything it could to find a new baseline metric to keep them surviving on a new set point. So it's not necessarily like your body's breaking, it's that your body will adapt to what you're doing, whether it's more calories, more activity, less activity. If you're running sprints every day, eventually your body is going to adapt to you as a person that runs sprints every day. If you're not, and then you do it, change is going to happen. So I'm saying, like, your body will adapt, or it'll die, right? Adapt or die. So, but it's really just your body becomes more efficient. So, like, as you lose weight, you weigh less. You burn fewer calories when you walk. You burn fewer calories when you exercise. Your body naturally conserves energy. Think of it like driving a smaller car. A compact car uses less fuel than a pickup truck. So like when you're big, your body is burning more calories. When you're smaller, your body's burning less calories. So your body does the same thing. So really, let me ask you this now, okay? So when was the last time you adjusted your calories after losing weight? Many people never do, right? So like as your weight goes down, you've got to then adjust calories down according to that weight as well, so that you're staying in that consistent caloric deficit. So keep that in mind. So here's some things to kind of talk about too. Another truth. I call this BLT, all right? So bites, licks, and tastes, okay? So hidden calories is another truth. This one gets almost everybody, not because people cheat, but they're human. And there's things that are going to happen, like a handful of nuts, coffee creamer, cooking oil, licking the spoon, even thinking that you're doing a tablespoon of peanut butter, but a real tablespoon of peanut butter is a lot more than you think when you actually take. So what I do to get accurate measurement on peanut butter, because that's the easiest way to overeat, like 1 tablespoon off on peanut butter, you're talking 100 calories more, and all of a sudden you're now at maintenance and you're not going to lose weight. And people love peanut butter, especially in their diet routine. So I take the whole jar of peanut butter on the scale, I plop it on the scale, I hit the 0 button, and on the back of the peanut butter on the label, you'll find it'll say, 2 tablespoons, and it'll have parentheses in grams. I move that scale to the gram measurement, I zero it out, and then I start scooping out peanut butter from the jar until it says negative 32 grams or whatever the grams are on that label. I think that's what it says. And then that's my serving. And then I'm very accurate. I can lick the spoon. I can do all those things. Versus just taking a tablespoon measurement and thinking that you're getting the right amount of calories, and then you're overeating on those things. So it's these little tricks that you'll learn. And even having me as a coach, we can kind of dive into those things and talk about what it looks like to navigate these things. And if the scale's not moving, some of these things might be happening with you, okay? Or just if whatever. So kids' leftovers. Dude, I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely munching on my kids' fries if they're not finished in their fries. I'm grabbing a chicken nugget. I'm taking a taste of their macaroni and cheese, and it adds up, And when you look at your overall week, all of a sudden you were at a calorie deficit, and now you're not. Now you're at maintenance. Another thing that kills people is they're dieting hard all week, and they check in and they say that they followed everything to a T, but they didn't factor in that on the weekend they went out to eat for dinner, even though they made a healthy choice or a healthy option. Hey, that chef probably just cooked all your food in oil and just added an extra 1,000 calories to your meal that you're not even thinking about. And so now that extra 1,000 calories there, it starts to all of a sudden put you at a maintenance calories for the week, and the scale didn't move. And you're wondering what's going on. And that's just one meal. And then, say you have other weekend meals and you guys get ice cream. And even though you get the smallest size and you're making these healthy changes, still overall we have to look at the science. And if you're not in a calorie deficit, the scale is not going to keep moving, okay? So together they can all start erasing that calorie deficit, so the handful of nuts, the coffee creamer, the cooking oil, licking the spoon and not measuring your peanut butter correctly, kids' leftovers, weekend meals, all these things start to add up. And then before you know it, now you're in a calorie surplus and the scale's not moving and you're frustrated and you can't lose those last 10 pounds, right? So, challenge. Track honestly for 1 week. Like for 1 week, download MyFitnessPal or Lose It or whatever chronometer, whatever app you want to use to track, download it and just track everything for a week. Don't even change what you're eating. Just eat what you normally would eat and just track everything in the app. Measure everything out, Try to do the very best you can to track everything. So no judging yourself, just collecting information. And just see where you're at. See where your average calories are. So you take every single day and then you just add it all up and divide by 7, right? Just like we learned in school. And you get your average number for the week. Look at your calories and then look at your macros. So what are macros? So you have your calories, which is the overall energy of your diet, right? Of everything you're consuming is made up of calories. Within those calories, you have 3 macronutrients. You've got your protein, your carb, and your fat. Okay, and these apps will track those things for you as you put in your food. See where your fat's at, your protein, and your carbs. Your protein should definitely be 1/3 of your diet. So it should say 33% of your diet. If you're at 20%, 15%, 20, 50, 25, really anything below 30, you're really not getting an adequate amount of protein, and that's going to affect your metabolism. It's going to affect you being able to build muscle. It's going to affect your blood sugar. It's going to affect your insulin sensitivity. All those things are going to be affected if you don't get the right amount of protein. The protein is the foundation, okay? You can live without carbs. You can live without fat. You cannot live without protein. You will die without protein. Our skin rebuilds on protein. Our organs rebuild on protein. Everything rebuilds. Hair, nails, everything starts to do and function in our entire body, our whole ecosystem on protein, okay? Fat, it's there as sort of like when you think of a house, like your protein is the house, okay? It is your house. Carbs and fats are the gas bill, the water bill, the electricity. They help kind of run the house, but they are not the house. So you have to make sure that not only do you eat enough protein, that you're eating enough protein to help your metabolism and that you're helping eat enough protein to move the scale forward. Okay. So you've got to really dial in and make sure that, you look at your diet and you get an adequate amount of protein. How much protein? Like I said, about 1/3 of your diet. Your calories should be at about a 500 calorie deficit per day. That puts you at about a 3,500 calorie deficit over the week. That puts you in a very fine little spot where you're not too low, you're not too high. You're going to be in a steady fat loss process week to week, okay? And then you should be eating at least your goal weight, so whatever weight is your goal, in protein per grams per day, okay? So that should be that's just a rough estimate. Everybody's different. What you need personally and what's going to be personalized to you might be a little bit different. That's why, again, you want to have a coach so they can walk you through these steps and help you decipher kind of the importance of those things, okay? All right, so let's get into the next truth, all right? So 4th truth, recovery matters more than you think, okay? Most people respond to a plateau by doing more. That's not the way to do it. They want to do more cardio, more workouts, less food. Sometimes the better answer is better recovery. Poor sleep increases hunger hormones. Stress makes cravings stronger. Recovery affects your workout quality, your food choices, your energy, your consistency. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is just go to bed an hour earlier. You'd be surprised. If you hit a plateau, take a day off, take a week off, go to bed earlier, get some good rest, make sure that you're getting, 7 hours of sleep a night, and all of a sudden you're going to start seeing the scale moving and results happening because your body is just, it doesn't have a chance to recover. All right, next. All right, so fifth truth. All right, so muscle is your friend. Dude, this is my favorite of all. And in fact, so I grew up overweight. I was a hefty kid. My grandparents raised me. We ate out a lot. My grandma and grandpa. My grandpa worked. My grandma was on the couch, just watched some soap operas, eating food all day. So, eating was kind of a comfort thing, and I was a really heavy kid. But I also, when I discovered weight training, I enjoyed it. And I watched, as a kid in my generation, pro wrestling was really popular. So I would watch, from the golden era of, Hulkamania and all that stuff to, the Attitude Era but I'd watch these icons, and it was like, I'd see these muscular physiques, and it inspired me, and I wanted to be a superhero muscular type person. And so that really, fueled me in the gym. And then even further to understand that, oh my gosh, so when I gain muscle, my body is going to like burn more calories at rest, which means I can eat more ice cream. Like what? So that really motivated me right there. So, that's kind of like a former fat kid's dream is like, okay, I can gain a bunch of muscle. I'm going to actually get leaner, and I'm going to still be able to eat some cake and brownies. That's a win. So the goal isn't just getting lighter. All right. So it's becoming leaner. And this is something that I want to talk to a lot of people out there. I don't want to pinpoint a specific person, but just over my past 20 years of conversations with people, oftentimes I get in these conversations, particularly with women, where they don't want to be bulky, they don't want to do this, they don't want to do that, they don't want to be muscular, and I always tell them that, lifting weights and eating protein and building muscle is not going to make you bulky. It's going to give you a leaner physique. Eating cupcakes, that's what's going to make you bulky. Okay, so if you want to lose muscle along with the fat, okay, so you're going to get leaner as you do that. The fat is going to go away. A pound of fat is like this big. A pound of muscle is like smaller than my fist. So like you're transitioning, you're getting smaller as you're getting more muscular. So, and that's true. Like as I've gotten more muscular in the past and leaner, people are like, oh my gosh, you're shrinking. I don't want to hear that, but it's kind of like, oh my gosh, like I'm actually getting more toned and more muscle, but my body's smaller. So anyways, if you lose muscle along with fat, here's some things. Your metabolism will drop even more. Okay, so this is why I get so concerned with like these GLP-1s like Ozempic and the different fat loss shots, okay? Because studies are showing that they're actually losing the muscle and the fat, and that's actually getting their metabolism to drop even more, which is even more concerning. It's also detrimental to their bone health and those kinds of things. So you have to really, when I have clients that are on those things, I really have to coach them up on, hey, you've got to make sure that you're getting an adequate amount of food and that you're still doing your strength training, because you don't want to lose strength. You don't want to lose muscle, because that's just going to further lower your metabolism even down further and further and further. So that's why we prioritize protein, strength training, a moderate calorie deficit, okay? Not a crash diet, because we don't want you to get into a place where you're losing muscle, okay? We got to preserve the muscle and even possibly build the muscle. And that's a very rare thing to do, but it can happen when we start to play the game. We have this body recomposition where we're actually building muscle and we're burning fat, and it's a pretty good place to be in. So, all right. Sixth truth, okay? Consistency beats perfection, all right? Nobody gains the last 10 pounds from a meal, all right? So it's all about being consistent. What's sustainable? Nobody loses from one perfect week. The biggest difference between people who finish and the people who are stuck is really consistency. It's not perfection. So you have to understand the importance of being consistent over time. You're going to have steps back, you're going to have steps forward, but you got to keep doing this 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, and life's going to life. Life's going to life. Things are going to happen. The time frame that you think this is going to get done in is not going to be maybe the most ideal, but it's really more about I'm making changes that are going to stick and stay with me for life. So, all right. So let's talk about a practical plateau checklist. All right. So we're going to get into this next. So if fat loss stalls, what do you do? All right, so let's kind of recap on what we talked about. Okay, so before you cut your calories again, you need to start asking yourselves these questions. All right, so am I weighing my food? Am I taking a measurement and weighing my food? Are you? Maybe. Am I hitting my protein? Am I actually measuring and making sure that my protein goal is being met every single day? Am I strength training consistently? And consistently could mean twice a week. I mean, honestly, are you in the gym or are you at home? Are you doing some kind of resistance training at least twice a week? Am I getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night? Or am I getting less? And some of you might say, well, my body's used to eating sleeping 5-6 hours a night. Fine. If you think that's going to work, great. But if this checklist, like if your fat loss is stalled, then maybe consider getting a little bit more rest, right? The easiest way to improve your sleep is just going to bed and waking up at the same time. If you can get on that schedule, that is like the biggest indicator and the best way to improve your sleep is just getting on a regular schedule as many days in a row as you can throughout the week, okay? All right. Another question. Have my daily steps dropped? You know, sometimes through seasons where you're doing more work like this, like office type work, sitting work, you might find yourself getting less steps than you did before. Like I know myself, so like when I was a personal trainer on the floor at a gym, when I was a group fitness instructor doing workouts all day long with clients, teaching classes, dude, I was burning way more than I do now. Now I'm on the computer doing coaching calls, typing up meal plans, workout plans. I am like at a desk. And so I have to get myself up and I have to go for like a 3-mile hike and then do a 30-minute lifting session and sweat my butt off. When before, man, I was like, I'd do a set of bench press between clients. I'd do some squats between clients. It was like I was working out all day long. So you have to kind of look at where your steps are at, where your activity is and your lifestyle. Has it dropped? Another one. Am I staying consistent on the weekends? Okay. When the weekend comes around, are you kind of falling off the wagon, going out to eat, getting some cake, not really logging the food? Maybe breakfast is some biscuits and gravy. Hey, I'm not judging you. I just want you to be real with yourself here, okay? This is just a checklist of a check-in, to check in with yourself on this. Because if you're plateauing, it might be one of the things that's causing it, right? Last one. Have I adjusted calories since losing weight? So like, if you've been losing weight and then you stall, should you drop your calories again? Possibly. But I think you have to answer all these questions. And if all these questions say yes, and you've lost weight and you've stalled, then maybe we do need to cut calories very small amount to then kind of keep losing weight because you're a smaller car now, right? And you're not burning as much as a bigger car would. All right, so if you answered no to several of these, then that's where you need to start, right? Don't start doing crazy stuff. Just go back to that stuff. If any of those questions are no, dial in on that, okay? And then we can go from there. So this is how we're going to check in. This is how things happen. This is how you keep yourself steady, Eddie, and you don't start doing anything drastic and crazy, okay? All right, so let's wrap this up here. I've got a few minutes left. I want to leave you with this, okay? The last 10 pounds aren't supposed to come off as fast as the first 10, okay? Whenever I was doing a bodybuilding competition, now this is an extreme example, okay? But when I started my bodybuilding cut, I was already really lean. I was like 12 to 15% body fat, that range. I had abs. I was pretty lean. But in order for me to get first place on stage, in front of other people and the whole crowd of people, I had to get down to like 5 or sub 5%. But like to go from like 15% to 10%, cutting some calories, doing an hour of cardio, working out, and you get there. And that's, a third of the way. But then to go from like 10 to 5, well, now I have to basically lose half of my body's fat. And it's going to be way, way more challenging to go from 10 to 5 than it was to go from 15 to 10. So you have to kind of keep that in mind as you're losing the weight, it's going to be a lot slower and it's going to be a lot harder as you get further down the line. But don't forget to be, to remember where you came from and how far you've come so far, okay? All right, so your body's changed, your habits have improved. Now it's about refining, not overhauling. Don't mistake slower progress for no progress, okay? If you're showing up consistently and you're fueling your body well and you're recovering and you're staying patient, those last 10 pounds are going to come off. I'm telling you, if you follow that checklist and you do it, you're going to lose those last 10 pounds. I guarantee it. The people who succeed aren't the ones with the perfect genetics. Okay, I'm telling you that right now. They're the ones who stay consistent long enough to let the process do its job. Okay, they're just very consistent for a long period of time until eventually it happens. Okay, so questions to ask you guys here. How long and you can comment below if you need to, but I'll leave you with this and you can comment later. This video will be up for a while. But how long have you been at your current weight? What's the biggest challenge that you're facing right now? If you had to guess which area needs the most work, would it be nutrition, movement, sleep, or stress? What is the one thing that you want to commit to improving on this week? Okay. All right. So one thing I'd add to make this more memorable, so you guys can really just kind of solidify this into your brain is, okay. So here's kind of a visual demonstration to think about. Okay. Imagine that you're driving from New York to LA. Okay. The first 1,000 miles feels like they just fly by, right? You're singing, you're listening to your tunes, you've gone through your whole playlist, you've hit 1,000 miles. Hey, we're doing pretty good, right? And then the last 100 miles, man, they feel like they take forever. Have you ever felt like that before? I know, like, I live in Kansas City. I go from Kansas City to Denver, Colorado. From like Kansas City until we get to like Colorado, when you hit Colorado, you're thinking, oh, mountains. And then you're like, man, John Denver is full of crap. But then you realize that the mountains don't really happen until like Denver, and you still have like 2 hours left. You've driven 6, you got 2 more hours. It feels like the longest, craziest amount of time. Am I right? So they feel like they take forever because you're watching every single exit sign. You're waiting for that mountain to show up. And fat loss is the same way, okay? You're closer than you think, okay? It just feels slower because you're so focused on the finish line. But you got to stay the course. You just got to stay the course. That mountain is going to pop up before you know it. You're going to see the mountains, and you're going to be like, damn, I'm not in the Midwest anymore. Everything's not flat. I can see the promised land. There are mountains that exist. It's not a boring Kansas flatland anymore. I have made it. But keep that in mind, guys. I had a lot of fun today with you guys. I'll be back. I'm always back on here doing some stuff every couple weeks. Me and Brandy switch off. She'll do some workouts. I'll do some coaching. We go back and forth. We team up on this on the Elite channel. But all right, y'all. Peace out. See ya later.